Welcome to the 2018 APTA National Championships presented by our national sponsors,
I'll get you later.
Viking, Sabertree, and Uline, and our local sponsors, Fields Automotive Group, Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, RBC Wealth Management, and Chicago Platform Tennis Charities. We are live at the Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois on the APTA Network presented by eNet Live. I'm Jerry Viant, along with Patty Hogan, bringing you the women's final between the number 3 seeds, Liz Cruz and Gabby Niculescu, and the number 2 seeds and defending national champions, Floor Hanisch and Annika van Starrenburg.
Nice tournament.
And Patty, what a spectacular day for the final here. Beautiful weather. The crowds are starting to swarm in now. You see the players coming onto the court.
And Jerry, it's so exciting here. I love finals and nationals of our championship of the sport.
It's a different vibe the whole weekend. And you see there's Liz Cruz and Gabby Niculescu on the court. And on come Annika and Flora. So Patty, while we're waiting here, why don't you talk a little bit about the players? Let's look at the draw and talk about their path to the finals.
Well, Jerry, I would love to talk about their path to the finals. And let's start with Hanisch and Van Starrenburg because they are our defending national champions, and they pulled out an amazing third set tiebreaker over the local favorites, McNitt and Nusslock. They then came back on the court and battled it out in just as difficult match to pull out an amazing third set tiebreaker win over Delmonico and Guillot.
Saving match points in both of those matches. They had 2 match points against them in the quarterfinals and down a match point in the semifinals. So our co-announcer Lauren Mandel had named them Houdini for coming through. And then let's look at the other half of the draw.
So Cruz and Niculescu pulled out a really nice win over Curtis and Jaffe, 7-5, 6-4, as you can see on the screen, in the quarterfinals. They then only were in the early stages of the match against the local team, Lemery and Rohrbach, and unfortunately Suzanne Lemery went down with a leg injury, so Cruz and Niculescu had a walkover.
Let you know when there are 2 left.
Yeah, so do you think that's going to be a factor that Cruz and Niculescu kind of missed that semifinal match that kind of helped you mentally?
Jerry, what I think is they're really well rested here. They had a lot of time after that match. Van Starrenburg and Hanisch, had to dig as deep as they could go to figure out ways to pull out 2 wins yesterday. So I'll be curious, if they can come back here and feel, fresh. I think Liz and Gabby and Flora and Annika, the beginning of this tournament, we saw the draw, Jerry, and I think I know that I thought this could be the final that we were looking for. I thought that Darce and Shea, number 1 seeds, have not always, they haven't had success at the national championship. And Flora and Annika pulled it out last year and played so well. And so I thought they would get back here. And then Gabby and Liz are former national champions. They know what it takes to get here. And I think both teams are peaking at exactly the right time of the year.
Right, all 4 players have won this title, so they know what it takes to get the job done. And let's go around and point out where the players are on the court, Patty, and a little bit about each player's strength so we know what we'll be looking for.
During the deuce court, we see the back of the red vest of Liz Cruz. Liz loves her two-handed backhand, Jerry, and I think her lobbing actually in the quarterfinals was the difference, and it just set up Niculescu's forehand all day long against Jaffe and Rudloff. Out of the ad court, playing with that red paddle, the black vest, is Gabby Niculescu, and you're going to be amazed by the explosive overhead if you haven't seen Gabby play before. and really penetrating forehand drives that she seems to have raised her consistency with throughout this tournament. Really impressed with her play yesterday. On the other side, out of the deuce court, is Florentina Hanisch. She's wearing the white visor, and Flor is in a way a setup player, but not in a traditional sense, because she can bring the heat off her forehand and backhand, and she kind of looks for Starrenburg to come out of that ad court for her signature blitz play. And you know, out of the ad court is Annika van Starrenburg, and she's got the baseball cap with the black front, white back, and she is known as a supreme blitzer, one of the best in our sport, I would say. And she has that incredible two-handed backhand, Jerry, that she just seems to pull out that trigger on that shot in the moment of truth. And that's what I'm most impressed about with Van Starrenburg. It seems like in the heat of the moment, when everything is on the line, I feel like that's when her game elevates.
Well, that's right. That's what we saw yesterday. I mean, Flor Hanisch was able to bring the spark to the team when they were down and a little bit flat. And Flor ripped some two-handed backhands that got the energy going again, and then Annika van Starrenburg just came in and used that energy, and together they gelled again, and that was able to push them over the finish line. So let's look at the keys to winning for both teams. See the tactics that we think that each team should do here. So the Vikings' keys to winning. For Cruz and Niculescu, like you said, Patty, it's Niculescu's roller. If you haven't seen it before, she can hit it from behind the service line, which is no small feat. That's a very difficult shot, and she usually hits it hard right at the deuce court player.
The deuce court player has to be able to have the footwork to come up with that shot and just take off up that side screen. Jerry, their shot selection.
Good morning and welcome to the
back to Cruz and Niculescu, Jerry.
Finals of the Women's National Platform Tennis Championships here at the Glenview Golf Club. On my left, from Bedford Corners,
That's
New
our
York,
umpire, Rob
Annika
Labune,
van
is just making the
Starrenburg,
introductions.
and her partner from Stamford, Connecticut, Flor Hanisch. And on my right, from Trumbull, Connecticut, Liz Cruz, and her partner from Norwalk, Connecticut, Gabby Niculescu. This will be a best 2 out of 3 set match. Tiebreakers at the end of the first and second set. Shannon, is there a tiebreaker open or for the third set? No tiebreaker for the third set played out.
Okay, Patty, pick it
So
up
let's
where
go
we
back
left
to the
off there.
keys to victory for Cruz Niculescu. Shot selection, they need to be really disciplined, Jerry. They have every shot in the book, but they really need to pick wisely when they're going to pull the trigger on shots and just not to get caught up in the speed of play and going too fast. And serving has been a little bit of a question mark for both Cruz and Niculescu. And, you know, with the ability that Van Starrenburg and Hanisch have to pounce on those return of serves, that's going to be a key for me, for Cruz and Niculescu to have success today.
Right. Okay, let's take a look at the keys to winning for Hanisch and Van Starrenburg.
Yeah, no, I wasn't planning on it. I just didn't know.
And then we've got blitzing and movement. Their game is all about creating havoc. They've really spent a lot of time drilling and understanding where each other needs to be on the court. Because sometimes when you've got that kind of movement, if you're not covering each other, it causes too much confusion. But their key is all to blitzing and movement. Also the placement of their lobs, and we saw that yesterday in the semi-final, particularly Annika van Starrenburg really got grooved in picking that spot over the net player's left shoulder and causing a little bit of confusion. And then Flor Hanisch lobbing down the line. So if they can move those lobs around, you've got Niculescu's roller, Cruz's slash, so they've got to try to cause some confusion, because if they don't, they're going to have a barrage of spin overheads hit at them. And serving was a little bit of an issue. Both Flor and Annika have really good serves, but they got tight. But what impressed me, Patty, was they would fault or put in a little bit of a push serve, and then the next shot, boom, come up with this a big shot, like back to back. So I had mentioned their internal climate there was a little bit in flux, but they were able to pull it through.
Jerry, what's the head-to-head with these teams this season?
So Niculescu and Cruz have owned them. I think it's 3-love, and I don't think they've dropped a set to them. So going into this match, Niculescu Cruz definitely have the advantage.
But Van Starrenburg and Hanisch are our defending national champions, and we saw them last year just kind of, find a way, and they proved it again yesterday. They find a way to win. And I'm really impressed with, they do play really as a disciplined team together. They're on the same page. You talked about all their keys to victory, and they are a team. They are united.
And I think Niculescu and Cruz have gone through a lot this season as far as court positioning. We saw them switch sides in the back court. We've seen them switch sides at net. We were a little bit surprised in Philly when they switched at net and they had Gabby Niculescu on the right for a bit, and then they kind of switched back. But eye of the tiger here. I see all 4 players ready to go, and Floor Hanisch is going to serve.
Love.
And there's a nick serve right off the bat.
All.
So you see Floor Hanisch staying back. She didn't come in right away, which is out of respect for the returner.
$30-15.
And then you see Gabriela Niculescu is on the left, hitting that big roller.
I think their experiment in Philly is over, Jerry. Liz Cruz is going to be to the right at the net of Gabby, I think, most of this match.
And what it does with that barrage of coming at you, I mean, you can catch up to it, you can handle it. Can you get a decent shot back that gets you out of trouble? It's not just a matter of getting your paddle on it, it's about having the control and the presence of mind to place it.
Jerry, I just want to know how Van Starrenburg can get that low. She's a tall girl. And Jerry, she does set up well below the level of the net. Why does she do that?
Yeah, she needs to keep, and that's been something that she's worked hard on, because like you said, it's not easy for her to get down that low, and that's one of the differences making the transition from a tennis overhead where you're hitting up high and snapping your wrist to letting that ball drop down low. And it's actually thinks of it as a shoulder high overhead, and that allows you to keep the ball deep in the court and lower in the screen.
40-30.
Jerry, I was also referring to how low she is. I mean, all around play, but when she's standing at that net, I've been watching her all tournament. I mean, Floor has an easy path to serve that ball in the box because Van Starrenburg stays so low.
And again, you see Hanisch giving up the net out of respect to the big return of Niculescu, because Niculescu can really hurt you with that first strike. And if you don't volley deep, you're going to get a second bigger ball right at you. So smart play to stay back and take away the target.
Jerry, one more shout out to John Noble and Shannon Vincent, our tournament co-chairs,
Yep, no worries.
plus their 200 volunteers who made this weekend so fun for all the players and the crowd.
Yeah, they had 124 men's teams and 96 women's teams playing this weekend. Gabby Niculescu serving.
Love 15.
And these first service games are always a little nerve-wracking, as we both know. Playing in a national championship final, it takes you a few games to settle down.
All.
And Niculescu's serve. Patty, talk about her grip and what that does to the ball that we just saw.
Well, Niculescu has worked on her serve really the last 2 years. She's moved her grip over to a continental grip to allow her to put a little bit of spin on the ball. And, you know, that ball bounces low there as a result of that spin, which is great because both Hanisch and Van Starrenburg love teeing off on that high bouncing ball.
30-15.
Yeah, so we saw that the ball stayed well below the level of the net, which makes it very tough for Van Starrenburg to strike and come in behind it.
That's the daunting play that Van Starrenburg pulls out all the time, where she just moves forward and she's got a wingspan that is just almost can reach.
I like to say, it's like a 747 coming at you. It's like, where do you go?
$30-40.
I think that's going to be a key in this match, Jerry, where Niculescu and Cruz end up bailing out on a ball. When they've been lobbed and are in trouble, you know, they have to be really careful to get the depth so it doesn't set up right there, Floor's forehand. She just crushed that.
Deuce.
It'll be interesting for me to see if Niculescu changes the pace with her roller. Because I think Hanisch and Van Starrenburg are so fast that they'll get a rhythm if the speed's the same, and they'll be able to catch up with those balls. But I think if Niculescu changed the space a little bit, like we saw last night with Kerry Del Monaco, then you could get a wrong-footed move.
Jerry, I got to follow Cruz and Niculescu's couple of matches yesterday, and I think that was the difference, exactly to your point, where Gabby seemed to vary the paces of her shots and just force some errors on key points out of Jaffe and Curtis.
All right, so you see they're taking away the target. Niculescu is serving, and Liz Cruz, her partner, who is the deuce court player, is moving over. Everything's perfectly legal, so they're moving all the chess pieces around, countering each other's tactics.
Gabby did that yesterday a lot, Jerry, where she would serve, almost show that they were going to both stay back and then kind of sneak in to kind of just test the return that way. Little I formation.
Nice deep lob by Liz Cruz. Got to watch that spot there because Liz Cruz loves to drive her backhand off the back screen, and she can hold it and disguise it.
Another thing I'll look for out of Cruz in that deuce court, Jerry, to see if she can cut off some balls off the deck. I think sometimes she ends up playing a little deep and allows the overheads from her opponent, particularly, coming in a diagonal from her across court, to go in, and almost lets her opponents off the hook.
Advantage, Miss Niculescu.
I just think when you can hit those little bit of chip shots off your, occasionally, it just takes time away from the net team.
Deuce.
And there's Van Starrenburg kind of sweeping in there, and I think that's where Cruz and Niculescu at that moment are going to have to stay on their backhand volleys, and I think Liz has to stay closer to the line on the right. She sort of followed Annika a little bit to the middle and then really exposed her vulnerable right side.
Advantage, Miss Van Starrenburg.
Well, that's a nice deep lob cross court by Flor Hanisch.
See, Cruz and Niculescu got caught, out of their side of the court, and they were in no rush to go back.
See, now they're changing back, putting Liz back up to net against Flor Hanisch, so changing the look.
Advantage, Miss Niculescu.
So you can see the level of intensity and concentration that you have to have at this level. Every single point is important. They've got to have their head in the game, know what the tactic is, and then know where to be on the court with their partner.
Yep.
Great play by Niculescu to run that ball down.
And you can see
Gain,
both
Cruz,
players,
Niculescu. Game's a
both
1-all,
teams
first set.
are fit. And movement is not going to be an issue. They'll run balls down. They'll let things go through. They'll throw up a high lob, get their partner back in position, and start again.
Miss Van Starrenburg to serve.
All right, 1-all, first set. Annika Van Starrenburg serving.
Jerry, I think when we see the higher level players in this sport, and at the end of this national tournament, the 4 players are here because they're the 4 players who are able to maintain that incredible intensity level throughout. And I think both of these teams, if they get on a roll and out in front, they do have the ability to close out matches. I think especially Cruz and Niculescu, if they get out against most teams, I'm not saying it could happen with Hanisch, Van Starrenburg, but they can get on a roll. That's amazing to watch.
15
Nice
love.
touch overhead that Van Starrenburg hit. I'm seeing that shot more and more in the game, going into that deuce side screen deep. The ball touches that side screen and then drops in the back screen.
And Jerry, we know Hanisch Van Starrenburg always have positive energy together as a team. I'm seeing a lot of that today out of Cruz and Niculescu. More already than I have really seen this year.
15 all.
And that's the key. I mean, when you're playing together, you're playing for your partner, not to let your partner down. That gives you a positive energy all the way through. If you're just playing by yourself, then it becomes you're afraid to make mistakes. It changes your energy. But when you're a real team and you're in it together, that's the glue.
15-30.
And Jerry, both of these teams started off the weekend expecting to be in the finals. They didn't worry about losing. They expected to be here, and that's why they're here.
15-40. Game, Cruz, Niculescu, they lead 2-1, first set.
And you see that big serve from Van Starrenburg comes up high off the back screen, and it's right into the wheelhouse of Liz Cruz's favorite shot. So backhand drive off that screen. So sometimes, you know, you're trying to be big and brave and hit that big serve, but when you're playing against somebody that's got that return, better off putting in a little bit of a slider with less pace. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank one of our national sponsors. Viking Athletics is the premier brand and the undisputed leader in platform tennis. Viking is platform tennis. The Viking Extra Duty Ball has been the #1 selling ball in the industry for the last 20 years. Liz Cruz serving.
And no surprise that Cruz stayed back, Jerry, on her first serve. She just wants to make sure she does not fault. She knows Hanisch is looking to bring it on the return of serve, so she starts off first point of her serve back.
No, I think it's a very smart play. Get your team into the point, serve, return, first volley. Then you saw Gabby Niculescu picked a very smart shot right there, a little higher up. Hanisch had to make a decision if it was going long, and it dropped in.
Love.
And that's going to be a key. And Cruz stayed on her backhand volley there. Was able to defend the Van Starrenburg blitz.
30-15.
Big swinger on that backhand from Gabby. But that was because of the pressure of a little movement from Van Starrenburg.
Sneaky little drop shot by Niculescu there.
Game, Cruz, Niculescu, they lead 3-1, first set.
And an easy serving game for Liz Cruz. I never saw one of those yesterday, Jerry.
Okay, Flor Hanisch serving. 1-3, first set.
Jerry, last year's women's final, 3 of the same 4 players. The only difference was Roxy Anika was playing with Liz Cruz last year in the finals.
So one of the question marks that I had for Cruz Niculescu coming into this match was Liz Cruz, because she's in the role of always being the playmaker and the setup player, but she really wants to hit. So she's got to be consistent, but she wants to take her shots as well. And so far, she really is combining the two. She's picking smart shots, and when the ball's there, she's taking her swings and not making the unforced errors.
Love 30.
Jerry, besides Cruz's two-handed backhand yesterday, she lobbed beautifully cross-court deep, really bringing a lot of open court looks for Gabby. And I'll see if she can lob as well against this team, although this team's a lot taller than Curtis and Jaffe.
But so far she is. She's pulling them out of the service box, so it doesn't matter how tall they are. Just get
15,
that height
30.
up early before the net. You can pull them out of the service box,
15,
and that
30,
cuts down their ability to put more spin on their overheads and get it into the screen. I think their focus has been to get Liz Cruz to make an error or to push too hard, and so far she's been rock solid.
I saw a lot of this yesterday, Jerry, where Cruz would stand up on the service line on Gabby's return just to be up there in case there was a pop volley that was sitting up there where she could take the ball out of the air.
And that was all set up by Niculescu's
15,
perfect
40.
lob down the line. Caused a little hesitation between Hanisch and Van Starrenburg. Hanisch had to go behind Van Starrenburg to hit that shot, popped it short, and there was the drive from Niculescu. And you see that lob again from Liz Cruz. She's got Annika Van Starrenburg's feet out of the service box.
30, 40.
Now the breakpoint opportunity to go up 4-1 in the first set for Cruz Niculescu. And you see there's Liz Cruz moving forward on the service line. Little guest appearance there.
I didn't want to say it, Jerry. I wanted you to get your line out.
He's going for a little drop shot. See, there's lobs from Niculescu, keeping their opponent's feet out of the service box.
Seems like just yesterday when Niculescu hated to use those screens,
Yep.
Jerry.
There was no such thing as a lob.
She just couldn't understand why you would ever not drive every ball off the deck. But she got it.
And again, the foot speed and the athleticism of all these players, but eventually that pounding roller of Niculescu's wins the point.
Advantage, Miss Niculescu.
And when you play against Niculescu, you've got to lob that ball up high, Jerry. You need to try to prevent her from getting those short little shots where she can just end the point.
Great lob. Again, a
Game,
deep lob.
Cruz, Niculescu,
Caused the
they lead 4
hesitation.
games to 1, first set.
And Cruz and Niculescu are out to a strong lead in the first set.
Jerry, did you know Uline is the leading distributor of shipping, industrial, and packaging materials to businesses throughout North America? They ship over 2.5 million boxes every day, but they are so much more than a box company. More than 32,000 quality products are always in stock and ready to ship. Outstanding customer service means they're here when you need them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Uline, the best selection, products, and people for an unforgettable customer experience. Shout out to Brian Uline on his induction to the Hall of Fame. Friday night, we had a great ceremony. Flip Goodspeed got to introduce Brian, and Brian gave a graceful acceptance speech. And funny, Jerry.
He was funny.
Love 15.
And speaking of the Hall of Fame, shout out to Jill Birmingham, the daughter of Pam and Wooly Birmingham, who are a husband-wife team in the Hall of Fame. And it's always fun to run into people, Jerry, who we only see maybe once a year at the Nationals. And I ran into Jill the other night and said we would give a shout out thinking of their family. Jerry, I got to say, I expected a great start from Cruz and Niculescu. As we said, they're very fresh. They wanted to play a lot yesterday, and they didn't get a chance. And I could just feel their intensity this morning when we first saw them. They had a great warm-up. And yesterday it was like a drill watching them play from the baseline with how many, they probably made like 85% of the drives they hit. Liz's two-handed backhand and Gabby's forehand. It looked like a clinic.
Yeah, the two teams had totally opposite days. Van Starrenburg, Hanisch mentally had to battle 2-3 set matches
15,
for hours.
30.
And Gabby's got two rollers, Jerry. She's got the one she crushes, and then the one she gets a little bit of hang time under and can hit the ball deep.
All.
You see both teams taking a moment to make sure that they keep on the game plan.
And Jerry, it seems to me that if you're Hanisch and Van Starrenburg, you've got to find Liz Cruz in the red vest. I think Gabby's getting way too many looks on her overhead. Easier said than done. But Van Starrenburg and Hanisch are a very smart team, and I expect they'll put a little pressure on Cruz with some of their lobs, if they can find her. And Cruz and Niculescu had no
30.
confusion about how they are covering the lobs, and they're being really disciplined here. And you could see Cruz going way off the court to her right to let Gabby come that far over.
Niculescu. They lead 5-1, first set.
So it's all Niculescu's roller right now is really causing a lot of damage.
And I got to hand it to Cruz and Niculescu in this set, Jerry. They've not been broken on their serve, which is really one of the things they were trying to do heading into this match.
Love 15.
They had to hold serve early on. Jerry, shout out to Sue Airy. I see she's watching us on Facebook. One of our game's great players and your longtime partner. You guys know a little bit about winning national championships, and no one thrived under the pressure better than you guys, Jerry.
It was the best day of the year, I'll tell you.
For you.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the best day, Jerry. I didn't mind losing. You know, there's no shame in losing to Hall of Famers.
Love 30.
And we know how hard it is to get to the finals. That was kind of worth like a third of a gold, Jerry, if you got to the finals.
Van Starrenburg, Hanisch trying to figure out what they're going to do differently here.
I mean, early in the season, we just saw Cruz and Niculescu dominate in some of their play, and they're dominating right now.
And again, it's that higher drive.
Love 40.
That's a smart placement for Liz Cruz, because a lot of times the players expecting that drive and they set their paddle down low and the drive comes straight back. But when you have to think about the height of the ball coming and raise your hands up, now you're dealing with, is it in, is it out, is it the speed? That's a very smart placement by Liz Cruz on that drive.
3 set points here for Cruz and Niculescu.
15-40. $30-40.
All right, they saved 2, Jerry. We've learned you never know with Van Starrenburg and Hanisch.
Oh, that was a great angle, and that is the first set to Cruz and Niculescu. So, Patty, it's all Cruz Niculescu show right now.
About a 2-minute break here, ladies.
Their dominant play is continuing here, Jerry. We're going to have to talk about it after the break, about what Van Starrenburg and Hanisch have to do to change things up. We will be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA Network presented by eNet Live.
Baseball has a rhythm. Pop, crack. It's the sounds of opportunity. That's why Good Sports helps kids get in the game by getting them the equipment they need. To learn more, please visit goodsports.org.
When it comes to the game of life, we're all on the same team. And success comes simply from trying. You don't have to be a celebrated athlete to celebrate being active. And you don't have to be on the field to have your own cheering section. United Healthcare.
Gabby. Sorry, I thought you were looking. I'm sorry.
All right, welcome back to the 2018 APTA National Championships. We are in the finals of the Women's Championships.
Ladies, we're ready.
Between Liz Cruz and Gabriela Niculescu, and Floor Hanisch and Annika van Starrenburg. And Patty, the first set was all Cruz, Niculescu. What do you think Hanisch van Starrenburg have to do to get into this match?
Jerry, I think they need to win more points.
Excellent. You're a fabulous coach.
You know,
Second set.
they're not playing poorly. I think that I always think you have to lob higher, lob deeper, and try to avoid so much of Gabby time. I just think Gabby's hitting way too many balls.
Yeah, Hanisch van Starrenburg don't look quite comfortable to me yet. A part is themselves, and a large part is Niculescu and Cruz. The way they're playing, they haven't been able to, they're not letting them get their rhythm.
And just to start off the second set, Gabby's hit 90% of the balls already. And I think they've got to test Cruz over there, especially on Cruz's forehand. I know it doesn't let Van Starrenburg and Hanisch stay in the side they prefer to play, and they love playing into that ad court corner. But I feel like they've got to make Cruz beat him here, not Gabby.
And they had a good look there, but it was just too big a swing. They're going to think Hanisch van Starrenburg have to be willing to hit more balls. You kind of sometimes with the barrage of shots and the pace and the spin, you feel like you have to do something better to beat Niculescu.
30, love.
But in fact, it's just the opposite. You want to keep it as simple as you can. Get those lobs up, like you said, get those lobs up higher and deeper. And I'd take a little bit of speed off the overheads too.
I just think Gabby's getting way too many balls out of that ad court, and Gabby's dialed in here. And Cruz is playing a really high-level match. She's a beautiful, complimentary player and really knows what Gabby time is all about, and Liz has a willingness to let Gabby time take over.
See, and that's the difference there, is that Niculescu's pressure makes you feel like you have to come back with a point-ending shot. And what happens, you're put in a position of where you win it or you lose it. So Van Starrenburg was the right shot to drive, but half the speed, be a little bit more accurate, put one more ball back in play.
And Jerry, you've always been a firm believer that you just got to keep getting the ball to the other side of the net. Don't be the one who ends the point.
Right, you don't want to be the rally killer. That's a better lob. But it needs to be a combination of lobs. Open up the point.
Cruz and Niculescu, they win the first game of the second set.
I mean, they got the look they wanted. But, you know, Gabby came up with a big-time volley there, Jerry. Floor had a nice, aggressive forehand to hit, but Gabby was more than ready for it.
It's exactly the speed of play that Niculescu Cruz thrive on.
I mean, I just love the positive energy from Gabby and Liz. I mean, they're bouncing about the court, high-fiving, low-fiving, Jerry. I mean, they're feeling the partner love today. Jerry, so Van Starrenburg's starting to serve. Second set here, even though Hanisch served first in the first set.
Love.
Do they do that so that they just keep serving on the same side throughout the match? The sun is a factor of these courts over here, and so the players do become accustomed to a particular side, and they'll go out of their serving order in order to just stay on the same side, so they don't have to change the look that they're used to.
Love.
So Hanisch, Van Starrenburg have got to take away what Cruz Niculescu want. They've got to find a way to make them feel uncomfortable. And right now, it looks to me like they're just reacting to Cruz Niculescu. They've got to figure out their game plan. But there's not a lot of choices to make Cruz Niculescu uncomfortable right now because they both look so solid to me. Smart play. Really smart play and placement of that next roller.
40-15.
Jerry, quick shout out to Dave Chelson, whose flight got canceled out of Portland earlier this week. Couldn't make it out here to the Nationals, but he enjoying the live streaming and smoking a cigar. That was a gift from you.
Oh.
I mean, I never thought to bring Dave a cigar.
Well, when you go to Cuba.
Exactly.
And who's the first person that comes to mind when you're in Cuba?
Well, the second, Jerry.
40-30.
David and Deb are fixtures at the national championships, and they don't miss too many, Jerry. I know they're bummed about it.
All right, Van Starrenburg's up 40-30. Trying to keep this first service game in their favor.
And it's early in the set, but I think they have to hold here.
Boy, that's a beautiful roller from Niculescu, isn't it? Behind the service line, and she, like you had said before, she just brushes up the back of the ball and that gets that ball back deep.
And that's the difference from, 2 years ago to a year ago to now. She knows when to, add 75 miles an hour and when to take it off within sort of the same technique of a roll overhead. dangerous with Van Starrenburg and Hanisch going back and forth here. Like I said, I think they need to. I would go at Cruz a couple of shots in a row. See, I think Van Starrenburg's, trying to lob over Cruz, but Cruz is just simply moving to her right, getting off the court toward the alley, and Gabby's coming over, hitting another roller. I think Van Starrenburg needs to lob more cross-court, Jerry, to make Niculescu actually, stay
Chase.
honest, and I think that would help them.
Advantage, Miss
Get her
Van
chasing the
Starrenburg.
ball to the right.
Moving to your left is more difficult than moving to your right for the type of player that Gabby is, and the way she holds her paddle and loves to hit those rolls.
That's a better overhead. Take the pace off of the ball.
Deuce.
Kind of an awkward miss from Van Starrenburg right there. Tried to let the ball drop and really she got too much underneath that ball, Jerry. Too much arc.
See, that's the ball that Van Starrenburg's got to take. And that's the reason why. I mean, even if Van Starrenburg had ducked, it's
Advantage,
pulling Hanisch all the
Niculescu.
way over behind. Wherever she puts that next ball, the court's going to be wide open. It's going to be a duck and weave chase. Van Starrenburg's got to take that.
Or she's got to move to her right, like what's Cruz doing. Get way out of the way. I know that's not the way you like the play to go, but
Creates
that's a
too
tough
much
shot.
of a
That's
chase.
Tough loss of point there when you hit your partner on any shot.
Right, now they're trying to change
Cruz,
the game
Niculescu,
plan, and I
leading
think they're
2
just
games
a
to love,
little
second set.
unsettled.
And Jerry, I think when you go after a deuce court player, you have to hit shots right into their body. You run out of court over there really easily. And that's exactly what happened there. They tried to force it, where go right into her body with your overheads. So Cruz and Niculescu, I mean, won the first set 6-1. Just got a break, and they're up 2-love here.
15
Finals of our
love.
national championships.
You saw Flo Hanisch trying to get the spark going, and the paddle just the ball just tipped off the edge of her paddle. Now both Cruz and Niculescu are teaching professionals in the Connecticut Fairfield County. And I'm sure all their teams are watching and cheering them on. Liz Cruz is at the Brooklawn Country Club in Connecticut. Gabby Niculescu is at the Millbrook Club in Connecticut. Lots of women's teams and men's teams.
30 love.
And our junior national champions, Jerry, got a free pass into this tournament, and Jay Koreski, who plays out of Millbrook, is here watching Gabby.
There's another roller winner.
40
Patty,
love.
it's 36 degrees here. Sunny, blue sky. So the ball's you know, you can hold it on your paddle. It's not flying. You know, when it gets up a little warmer, the balls tend to fly, but it really is playing into the spin and the rollers of Niculescu.
Game, Cruz, Niculescu. They lead 3-0. Second set.
And they
Cruz,
are
Niculescu won the
cruising.
first set, 6-1.
Jerry,
That's
I had a
sad.
feeling you were going to say that too. The APTA thanks our official sponsor, Save a Tree, the green choice for tree, shrub, and lawn care. Let Save a Tree focus on your landscape so you can focus on your game and enjoy every outdoor moment at home or play. Save a Tree provides environmentally sensible services to properties in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Western regions. Contact them at saveatree.com for a complimentary landscape assessment by a knowledgeable arborist. So the Niculescu Cruz train is on a roll, Jerry.
Yeah.
I think they're that high-speed train.
Well, I think, you know, that not playing that semi-final yesterday has made them even more hungrier and focused and determined, and maybe there's a little bit of mental fatigue from Hanisch van Starrenburg, coupled with just the brilliant play of Cruz and Niculescu. I mean, they are playing, all of their strengths are on fire here. There's really not a weakness in their game. Yeah, they're just too quick right now. They're very unsettled.
15 all.
They need to slow down and take a moment and just hit as many balls as they can to one specific spot.
I'm just shocked that Cruz and Niculescu at this point in the second set, and they've not been broken on their serve. That was one of our keys to victory for them, and they've really done a wonderful job of keeping the ball in play there and
There we go. That's a shot
have
that'll
themselves
make them
really
happy.
well positioned.
30,
That was
15.
the Van Starrenburg two-handed backhand that we've seen often. So the games are going fast. They just went from 2-love to 3-love here in the second set.
That's about what it feels like.
Forty, 15.
A rare miss for Niculescu out of that half court today. Jerry, I saw that all day yesterday. Phenomenal lobbing from Cruz out of that deuce
Game.
court.
Hanisch van
Great rip
Starrenburg.
there.
That was a
Danger
big
3-1.
serve from Floor
Cruz
Hanisch.
Niculescu.
All right, so they need to take a moment, Hanisch van Starrenburg, and take a few deep breaths here and get the pace slowed down, because it's all Cruz Niculescu's speed of play. And again, look at Liz Cruz showing that court awareness.
Love 15.
She's got that little chip forehand that she'll use sometimes.
I think what separates the top players in the game, Jerry, are, that shot selection. They all have a ton of shots, but knowing when to pull the trigger on certain
15
shots,
all.
that's the key, and that's what separates in our sport every level.
And so you saw Van Starrenburg miss that overhead because of the lack of footwork. And sometimes when you're a little bit nervous, you know, that's the first thing to go is your footwork. Just needs to take those few more little adjustment steps and get herself set.
Jerry, is it nerves or a little fatigue?
Could be a combination of both. I mean, they really, like I said, physically they had battles yesterday. Had to play 6 sets, save 2 match points. 2 match points in the quarterfinal, and then 1 match point in the semifinal. But mentally, I mean, they had to stay focused
15,
for
30.
hours.
And that's the grueling part, besides the obvious physically, to, you know, focus for that long. It takes a lot out of you.
15-30.
Yeah, I think this is a big game right here for Hanisch van Starrenburg. Cruz and Niculescu are
30 all.
just making them so uncomfortable with the barrage of shots and quick pace right back at them that they come up for air a little bit, and then the Cruz Niculescu snuff it out. So Van Starrenburg just
40,
needs
30.
to take some deep, deep breaths.
You know, Hanisch went over trying to keep her positive.
That's what we saw yesterday, the ability to come right
Deuce.
back that next shot. Just need to string a couple of those points together. Again, there's just too much speed. It goes right into what Van Starrenburg got in trouble on that shot.
Advantage, Miss Cruz.
Wow. Gabby is really
Jane,
on
Cruz,
a tear
Niculescu,
there. So,
they lead 4
Patty, you
games
know,
to 1
matchups are so
second set.
important. And what we
Cruz
saw
Niculescu won the
yesterday
first set, 6 games
was
to 1.
Floor Hanisch provided the spark that the team needed. She was willing to step up and rip a couple of shots when they were under pressure and changed the dynamic. And then Annika van Starrenburg came with her. But here, picking up the pace is not what you want to do, because it's playing right into Niculescu and Cruz's speed of play. So one of them has got to take charge here and just let's hit 9,000 balls to those 2 boards at a certain pace and become like a dripping tap. But I don't think they've figured out where those 2 or 3 boards are, because they keep going too much to Niculescu. And when they go to Cruz, like you said, it's a skinny amount of court over there, so you can't go to the side screen. They can't go too hard to her backhand because she'll drive it. So I think the best 3 boards would be right at Liz Cruz. Make her get out of her own way. Make her be the one that has to hit off the deck. But they'll need to be calm and focused to be able to execute that strategy.
to your point, Jerry. They force that again, and there's a little bit
Love
of space
15.
over there, and I just think they have to go right into Liz's body. And Jerry, sometimes there's no safe place on a court. I mean, the level of play, Niculescu and Cruz here is off the charts high.
Yeah, they are absolutely playing at the highest level of their game, both of them, at the same time, at the right time. It's all they're totally dominating. Hanisch and Van
30.
Starrenburg are having to react to them. It's just too much speed. It was a right
40.
shot to go to Liz Cruz, but to hit it faster than you can shift your team over. And then it also gave Liz an opportunity to use the speed of play to attack. Came up with a let cord, but it was the speed of the overhead that got them in trouble. Oh, God.
Game, Cruz, Niculescu.
What
They lead
a
5
thump.
games to 1.
By Patty, we're
Second
sitting
set.
directly behind that swing. So Niculescu is serving for the match and the national championship.
She's won this with Martina Andreikova. She loves to win. She's a two-time mixed national champ. And really a fierce competitor.
Love
All these
15.
women are. And that's the
Love 30.
play Van Starrenburg loves, where she just returns, fouls in, hit a beautiful volley. Love the poise with Cruz and the touch on those volleys there. Didn't overreact, let the ball come to her paddle, kept the ball down low.
Love 40.
Wow.
Game, Hanisch, Van Starrenburg.
Hanisch Van
Cruz,
Starrenburg,
Niculescu,
hang
5
on.
games to 2. Second set.
First break for Hanisch Van Starrenburg in this match, Jerry. Couldn't have come at a better time.
Well, if they can find a way to turn this around, they'll definitely stay with their Houdini name.
It's a new ball again, ladies.
Yeah, if they pulled this one out, I would be amazed. They continue to amaze. I just don't see it happening today. I feel like this is all Cruz Niculescu today. So Hanisch to serves to stay in the match.
It's a new ball, so as is customary, they take a practice serve.
Fifteen, love.
Is that the third back forehand that Gabby's missed in this entire match, Jerry?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Cruz has lobbed well, but I'm impressed with Gabby's lobbing as well. They really are tag teaming the lobbing and really keeping Van
15 all.
Starrenburg Hanisch off balance this entire match. That's what your point is, Jerry. You almost
15-30.
they're finding themselves where they're just going for too much, and they really are never going to get back in the match.
Right.
Doing it, making a quick error in the point.
Well, it's just the speed of Cruz and Niculescu. I just get the feeling that
Their foot speed, Jerry, is what you're referring
Yeah.
to, right?
30
and
all.
and the speed of their shots, the pace of play, it's all quick, fast, hard. Hanisch, Van Starrenburg need to slow it down. They don't have to hit a better shot because Gabby hits such a hard shot. You don't have to
30,
come up with
40.
a better shot to beat her. You just have to put that ball back in play in a place that's going to make them uncomfortable.
And we've got a match point for Niculescu and Cruz.
Deuce.
Hanisch, Van Starrenburg have proven they can play under pressure. See, that's the overhead they need to hit with less pace. Make Liz Cruz have to generate her own pace off the deck, and they're just playing into it. That's a better pace overhead right there.
It's one of the best points of the match for Hanisch and Van Starrenburg.
Advantage, Miss Hanisch.
And they went after Gabby Niculescu.
Beautiful shot right down that line from Hanisch out of that two score.
Starrenburg. Cruz and Niculescu
So
lead
they
5 games to
fought
3,
off one
second
match
set.
point. This is where they feel most comfortable, I'm beginning to think, in national championships. Let's see just how far down we can get and see what we need to do to pull it out.
Do you recommend that strategy, Jerry?
Let's say it gets the heart rate up, that's for sure.
Really good eye. It's getting a little warmer, Jerry.
Love 15.
Really smart to let that ball bounce.
All.
Cruz and Niculescu are big-time tennis players. Been in a lot of tough matches. As Liz Cruz played Fed Cup. know how to play the big matches, but as we all know, it's closing the matches
15,
out.
30.
They can see the finish line. That was a huge play by Van Starrenburg. Got the ball below. Whoa. Again, it's throw the lob up. You don't have to hit
30
a
off.
big shot. Did a good job of running that ball down, getting it off the screen, put the ball back in play. Hard to stay composed. Match point number 2.
You right? 40, 30.
I think Cruz was relieved that she put that serve in the box there. She had a shaky one a point ago to the deuce court.
Oh, little hesitation there. And Liz Cruz is just as comfortable in the ad side.
Having won a national championship with Anna Brazova over there.
Wow. Game, set, match. Cruz,
Game, set,
Niculescu,
match.
6-1,
Niculescu,
6-3.
6-3.
Absolute spectacular play
Congrats,
by
ladies.
Cruz and
Thank you.
Niculescu when they needed it. Patty,
Jerry, they just dominated, really. They served incredibly well. Cruz was so consistent out of that deuce court, and Gabby just was relentless with the pressure she put on from the baseline and at the net with that roll overhead.
yeah, and you know, hats off to Hanisch Van Starrenburg. They had a wonderful tournament, like we said. They had 2 tough 3-set matches yesterday. They managed to save 2 match points in the quarters and a match point in the semi. But it was all Cruz Niculescu today. It was their speed of play. So while we're waiting for the players to set up, we're going to stay with you. They're going to have an interview with the players. We're going to have the trophy presentation. But before that happens, we have a special tribute that we would like to share with you. And the other night at the Hall of Fame dinner, we had the dedication of calling our national trophy, women's trophy, the Strauss Cup. And it is in honor of Deanne Strauss. So for over 3 decades, Deanne had amassed 29 national championships with 12 different partners, including 6 women's open titles, 2 mixed, and multiple senior titles. In 2004, Deanne was inducted into the Hall of Fame, our sport's highest honor. And Patty, it's an honor for us to be involved in the game and witness firsthand what a true champion Deanne Strauss was. And it's only fitting that we connect a permanent memory of the game's most decorated player in the history of our sport by naming the women's national trophy in her honor. And we put together a little tribute of Deanne's career. I'm going to share that with you now.
was a fitting tribute. I love all of those pictures that you gathered. Dan was such a fierce competitor, such a gracious champion. We all loved her, and we miss her. We're going to throw it out to Lauren Mandel, who gets the first interview with our new national champions.
I'm here with the 2018 APTA National Champions. Congratulations, Gabby and Liz. You guys came out like gangbusters. Were you at all nervous coming into the match today?
Yes, I was nervous, and I think she was nervous.
I mean, I was nervous. I thought she wasn't nervous.
Well, you didn't.
It helped me having one.
I thought that she wasn't nervous. Like, okay, so that's good.
You guys didn't play nervous at all. Did you have like just a game plan? You said we're just going to stick with this.
We did have a game plan.
Yeah.
We also we were very hungry to win. I mean, there was nothing at that moment I wanted more than winning, not a title. So we're so happy we were able to do it.
And do you think the fact that your opponents had those grueling long matches yesterday where they had to save match points and you had a tough match, but then you had a default, do you think that worked to your advantage?
I don't think so, because sometimes when I have toughest matches, I'm mentally stronger. You know, because they saved 2 match points, so I was like, oh my God, that's their momentum. So, I mean, it could be either way, but they're still young, so they can recover.
And what are you going to do to celebrate?
We're going to have some margaritas, I heard. Sally Jones promised us. Oh, thank you to Sally who hosted us this tournament. Thank you to the sponsors, Viking, Uline, and maybe the other one. Save Tree, thank you.
Tree, yes.
And thank you to our sponsors.
Wilson and Paddle Player.
And last but not least, our family and friends and Millbrook Club
And
Brooklawn Country Club. Thank you for watching.
They were watching. They were supporting you.
Parents, I think her parents are watching
Yes.
too. So from Romania and El Salvador. So we're so happy to be here, and thank you so much for allowing us to be here and making this happen.
Great playing. Congratulations, ladies.
Thank you.
When it comes to the game of life, we're all on the same team. And success comes simply from trying. You don't have to be a celebrated athlete to celebrate being active. And you don't have to be on the field to have your own cheering section. United Healthcare.